Hi, I'm Sharon Macklis at IDG, here with episode 41 of Do More with R, Track a Twitter Hashtag. Twitter is a great source of R news, especially during conferences like Use R and RStudio Conference. And thanks to R and the RTweet package, I can build my own tool to download tweets for easy searching, sorting, and filtering. Let's take a look step by step. First, you want to install and load any of this project's packages you don't already have: RTweet, React Table, Glue, StringR, HTTPUV, and dplyr. Then to start, load RTweet and dplyr. To use RTweet, you need a Twitter account because you need to authorize RTweet to use your specific account credentials. That's because there's a limit to how many tweets you can download in a 15-minute time period. Michael Kearney, who wrote RTweet, gives us two choices. The super easy way is to just request some tweets. If you don't have any credentials stored, a browser window should pop up asking you to authorize the request. After that, an authorization token gets stored in your R environment file so you don't have to reauthorize in the future. You can go to rtweet.info to see the other way, which is to set up a developer project and get authorization credentials. If you're going to use RTweet a lot, you'll probably want to do that. But for now, let's do the easy way, which I'll show in a minute. To search for tweets with a specific hashtag, you use the very intuitively named search_tweets function. It takes a few arguments. First is the query, something like hashtag RStudioConf, hashtag UseR2020, hashtag RStats. Second is the number of tweets you want to get back. It defaults to 100. But here's another important thing you need to know about searching tweets by keyword. Unfortunately, the search only goes back around 6 to 9 days unless you pay for a premium Twitter API account. So you can't use RTweet to search today and find RStudio Conference tweets from last year. You won't be able to search 2 weeks after a conference to get those tweets. So you'll want to make sure to save the older ones you might want in the future. Another search_tweets argument is whether you want to include retweets. For my purpose, I don't, so I set that to false. There are more arguments you can use to customize your search, but let's do a basic search now. 200 tweets with the RStudioConf hashtag. Let's get back to RStudio. And let me try to do this search. And I'm already authorized because I've authorized in the past, but if I hadn't, a screen would have popped up asking me to click and authorize the application. But for now, I'm authorized. Let's go back to RStudio. Now let's see the results. A couple of things jump out at me. One is I asked for 200 tweets, but got back 118. There are a couple of possible reasons for that. One is that there may not be 200 tweets in the last 6 to 9 days, since I'm running this code before this year's conference starts. Another is that Twitter may have initially extracted 200 tweets, but after filtering out retweets, fewer were left. Another thing you might have noticed, there are 90 columns of data for each tweet. That's a lot of metrics. Let's take a look at those. I'll open that so you can see it better. These are the column names. And now let's take a look at the object. I'll click on that in the top right panel. And we can see what this looks like in real life. And lots more things here. Mentions screen name, quoted source, quoted retweet count, some with locations, although most don't have locations. Lots of things here. The ones I'm usually most interested in are status ID, created at, screen name, text, favorite count, retweet count, and expanded URLs. You might want some other columns for your analysis, but for this demo, I'll select just those columns to make the data a bit easier to see on screen. So that's part one, getting the first batch of tweets. Step two is doing something with them. There are lots of interesting visualizations and analyses you can do with Twitter data and R. Some of them are built right into R-Tweet. But I'm doing this demo wearing my tech journalist hat. I want an easy way to see new and cool things I might not know about. So I want to see some of the most liked tweets from a conference. Thanks to R, I don't have to rely on Twitter's popular algorithm. I can do my own searches and set my own criteria for what's popular. Maybe search for top tweets just today while the conference is in progress. Or filter for a specific topic I'm interested in, like Shiny or Purr, sorted by most likes or most retweets in a specific time frame. One of the easiest ways to do these kinds of searches and sorts is with a sortable table. DT is one popular package to create those tables, but lately I've been experimenting with another package, React Table. The default React Table is kind of blah. I'm going to filter out a couple of columns I don't want in my table, the user ID, the status ID, load React Table, and run that. Take a better look. Not especially compelling. I've come up with a set of my own defaults I usually add to a table to make it a little less blah. Let me go over these. Filterable adds search filters below each column header. Searchable adds an overall table search box that searches all the columns. Turning on bordered, striped, and highlight does what you might expect, adds a table border, adds alternating row color stripes, and highlights a row if you put a cursor on it. Show sortable adds little arrow icons next to column names so users know they can click to sort. I set my default page size to 25 here. Set show page size options to true so people can change the page size, and then set those page size options, 25, 50, etc. Finally, I set each default sort order to descending instead of ascending. That's default sort order here. That's because if I click on the number of retweets or likes column, I want to see those as most to least, not least to most. Finally, there's the columns argument. That's a list containing a column definition list for each column. Look at the React Table help files for more details, but here I'm setting a couple of columns to have a default sort order of ascending, even while most of the table is descending. For the text column, I want it to display HTML as HTML so I can add clickable links. I want to set a minimum width for the column in pixels, and I'm making it resizable so I can click and drag to make it wider or narrower. I turned off the filter boxes for favorite count and reply count. That's because, unfortunately, React Table filters don't understand that those columns are numbers and will filter them as character strings. Now don't worry, Reactable sorts number columns properly, it's just those filter boxes that are a problem. That's the major drawback to React Table compared with the DT package. But sorting numerically is enough for me for this purpose. So let's go back and see what this looks like. Run that. And I'm going to open it up in a browser. If I click on the favorite count, I can see the most favorited. If I click on the retweet count, I can see the most retweets. I can click and drag the text column to make it wider or narrower. A couple of things will make this more useful. I decided not to display images or videos in the tweet text field because my purpose here is to scan text. But sometimes it's helpful to see the original tweet so that you could then see a video or an image or a retweet that is being referenced. So I created a separate column for URLs that are added to tweets. Here, the URL is expanded URL. So this way I can easily filter for tweets that include URLs. That's handy if I'm trying to find tweets with links to presentations or resources. Right now, though, I can't click to see anything. I can't click to see the original tweet. I can't click the URLs. So I need to create the HTML for clickable links in my R code. Let me go back to my tweets data frame and do that. As a reminder, here's my code for choosing the columns for my table. Now let me add columns with HTML. For tweet text, I want to add a small clickable something at the end where I can click to see the actual tweet on Twitter. I decided on space, greater than sign, although it could be any character or characters. If I look at the format of a tweet, let me go to the browser and do that. I'm going to go to Twitter. I'll find my tweet here complaining about possible weather problems when I need to fly out to our studio conference. I'll click on this and look here if you can see that what the URL is. It's twitter.com/username/status/the tweet ID. So now using the glue package, it would be here, twitter.com, the screen name, status, and the status ID. If you haven't used glue before, it's a great package for pasting together text and variable values. You use one expression in quotation marks, as you see here, and put any variable name that you want to be evaluated in braces, here and here. So this first line of code creates a link to the tweet from the status ID and the username. This next line, creating tweet link, is the space, then greater than sign, along with the href for a clickable link. And then finally, I'm creating a tweet column that includes that clickable link. I've got this tweet text and then that link code. Finally, after that, I do a quick React table with just the new tweet column to check my links. So let me run this and this. I'm going to open that in the browser. And I'm going to click on one of these greater than signs to see if it works. Great, it does. You can do something similar to make the URL column clickable, although I'm not going to demo that to save a little time. But I will now consolidate my code so I'm not making 3 new columns for one tweet column. I just did that to make it easier to explain and show the code. Let me go back to RStudio. So here I'm selecting my columns. I'm adding my tweet column, and I'm selecting the columns that I want, also renaming them to make them a little more user-friendly. So let me run that code. This is my code to make clickable links from the URL column. I'm not going to go over it here, but you can pause the video to take a look at it, or head to the associated article with this video so you can copy and paste the code. It's a bit more complex than you might expect because that URL column is a list column. Some tweets include more than one URL, so you have to account for that. I'll run that function. And here's my final table code. Here's my tweet table data frame. The rest of this is mostly formatting and table behavior. I'll run that. Open it in a browser window. And there you have it. A searchable conference hashtag database. One thing to remember, if you're following a conference hashtag during a conference, you want to pull enough tweets to get the whole conference. So check the earliest date in your tweet data frame, which you can do by clicking on date time. See, I've got January 13th here. If that date is after the conference started, request more tweets. If your conference hashtag has more than 18,000 tweets, remember that's the amount you can do any one time within a 15-minute window, which happened when I was tracking the Consumer Electronics Show, very active on Twitter, you'll need to come up with some strategies to get the whole set. Check out the retry on rate limit argument for search_tweets if you want to collect a whole set of conference hashtag tweets going back 6 days or less. Finally, make sure to save your data to a local file when the conference ends. A week later, and you'll no longer have access to those tweets via search_tweets and the Twitter API unless you've paid for a premium API account. In a bonus article and video, I'll demonstrate how to turn this into an interactive Shiny app. But meanwhile, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. For more R tips, head to the Do More with R page at bit.ly/DoMoreWithR, all lowercase except for the R. You can also find the Do More with R playlist on the YouTube IDG Tech Talk channel, where you can subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. Hope to see you next time.